Hey, what is up, guys? Josh back here again with you today for another one, and this one that I'm doing here today is another whiskey review. I have several of these, several different whiskeys I've kind of collected together and everything that I'm trying to get through with the reviews for it. This one that I have here today, though, is a pint, one that I've had for quite a while now. I haven't really touched this one a whole lot, but it is the Wild Turkey 101, fairly iconic type of American bourbon. A lot of people know it, about Wild Turkey and everything like that. The 101 is their 50.5% proof alcohol by volume. It's their closer to kind of barrel strength that they have. A little less blended. It has gonna have a little bit more flavor to it. They use a high rye content with this particular bourbon. As it says on the back, it has notes of caramel, vanilla, toffee, and spice. A lot of your typical kind of bourbon notes with flavors and everything like that. Just as recently as 2016, won double gold at like a San Francisco, just kind of like whiskey bourbon competition. So it's a highly awarded, highly acclaimed Wild Turkey 101. A lot of people think that this one is kind of one of the cheaper bourbons. It is around about the 22 mark price, at least in Mississippi. But a lot of people think this is kind of one of the more budget bourbons. I don't really think so. I've had this before. Obviously, as you can see, I've had it in the Pioneer, but I've had it before this. I've had actually, big fifth or whatever, the big, regular size bottles. I've had a couple of those before. With this one, it says that they also, just according to the site, says that they use the white oak barrels, high rye content, and they get a really deep char on the barrels, on the inside of the barrels. Could just be a lot of commercial, talking up of this bourbon, but that would be interesting if they did really kind of char those barrels to hell and back to kind of give a more deeper flavor to it. So let's go ahead and pour a little dram out here, and have a little bit of water to cut it because of it being 101 proof. I've mentioned in an earlier video. If it's around like if it's around 80 proof or something like that, I won't really bother with any water or anything like that. It's over 100 proof or whatever. I'll add a little water to it just to see if it brings out any other interesting flavors, aromas, etc. Let's go ahead and get to the color on this one, which, as you can see, is a sort of golden kind of amber color. A little bit of orange there, but mostly a sort of golden amber color. Has a nice bit of legs kind of on it that you might be able to see in this glass, may not. A little bit there. With this kind of cut glass like this. So let's go ahead and go for the aroma on it. Which lots of zesty citrus, zesty kind of almost like lime peel. Camera's trying to act up on me a little bit. Hopefully it sticks with us here. Vanilla, some kind of spices. Fairly sweet smelling bourbon. Corn. A little bit of white pepper maybe. Kind of a peppery sort of aroma to it. Yeah, mostly just a zesty, vanilla, peppery kind of aroma. Smells a lot like a lot of your typical bourbons. It does have a bit more of a sharper punch to it, though, probably from that rye. Let's go ahead and get right into the flavor on it. On its own, really nice. If you're into the sharper, hotter, I usually describe bourbons like as being having a lot of heat to them from that spice, whether it be from the spice or the alcohol or whatever. If you're into those really peppery kind of bourbons with a nice bite to them, not only is it the 101 proof doing it, I believe, but it's also just that high rye content, and that high rye content has a really good balance with the just other flavors going on in this particular bourbon. So let's go ahead and add like a little bit of water. Not going to add a whole lot. It's not like crazy proof or anything. Just a drop or two, just to kind of open it up a little bit. I do have a, I think I've mentioned it before. I do have a 120 proof bourbon that I mean to get to soon. The Knob Creek Single Barrel Reserve, which I'd really like to get to pretty soon with a review. Let's go ahead and see what if it does anything to the nose opening of the nose up anymore. It's not really, just kind of some vanilla, a little bit more subtle on the lemon kind of orange peel kind of aroma. But just kind of the same thing we got before, just a more subtle kind of quantity of notes in there. Let's go and go for the flavor on it now with a little bit of water added. Well, it definitely removes some of the alcohol heat, obviously, diluting it a little bit like that. Leaves a little bit of a kind of chalkier, kind of woodier taste on the after. Maybe not chalky, but sort of a woodier taste on the aftertaste there. Back of the palate. Opens up a little bit more of those vanilla notes, maybe some cardamom, some cinnamon. Kind of calms that rye down a little bit, but not as much of that sort of zesty, sort of orange peel kind of flavor that you get with it uncut. Yeah, maybe a little bit of grain still though, but a lot less on the rye, more on the vanilla and the oak when you add a little bit of water to it. The body of it. I'm not really going to go crazy with the body and all, and after and you know the mouthfeel and all that, but alcohol wise, with it uncut, it is fairly strong. So if you're not really into, if you only have like something like Jack Daniels and Jim Beam, the Wild Turkey 101 uncut is going to be pretty strong with the alcohol heat. But if you have had plenty of different bourbons and stuff like that, have had your fair share of like the ryes and all that kind of stuff, uncut, this is still a very good bourbon, very flavorful. Cut maybe with a little bit of water if you want to. Ice, that's how I usually take it, is over just an ice cube or something like that. You know, like a big old ice cube that can kind of slowly melt, so you don't water it down too quickly. That or it really makes a good whiskey and Coke. Some soda like Pepsi, Coca-Cola works really nice. Coca-Cola especially with all those vanilla and spicy flavors with that. So it's really that kind of bourbon. They do have a number of cocktails. Like you can make old fashions with it, Manhattans, all that kind of stuff with it if you want. But it is a really good bourbon to just have neat over ice or with a little bit of Coke or something like that to add a little bit of extra flavor to your whiskey and Coke. But I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't. Definitely not a bourbon to just kind of glance over. The 101 is actually very good from the distillery, which I didn't really mention, but Wild Turkey Distilling Company, Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Definitely really good bourbon to check out. One of my favorites. I don't touch it a whole lot because it is sort of a 101 kind of proof, so I kind of I kind of drink on it slowly. But definitely one of my favorites that I can just kind of go to and pick up and know that it'll be one that will kind of do me right. So with that, guys, until next time, thank you for watching.